In what has become a physical embodiment of political corruption and incompetence, San Diego City Council entered a unanimous deal, for 101 Ash Street in downtown San Diego. Let's get into that story.
Major step toward offloading the asbestos-laden 101 Ash Street building downtown and turn it into affordable housing.
CBS 8's Alex Cheney joins us live with what happened in council chambers late this afternoon. Alex.
Yeah, Carlo, within the last 30 minutes, I'd say, the city council unanimously approved the building project at 101 Ash Street. It'll now be turned into hundreds of affordable housing units, but not without some controversy. A new lease agreement will begin a new chapter for the infamous 101 Ash Street building downtown. It's a 21-story building originally built in 1968 and occupied by Sempra. From 2017 through 2019, the city was conducting a massive renovation and disturbed the asbestos. They had to vacate. At that time, the city was in a lease-to-own agreement with the owner, Cistera. After years of litigation, the city agreed to buy out the lease for $86 million in 2022. Opponents of the lease say the city didn't do its due diligence.
It seems like you learned nothing from the past. Prior failure to demand a building inspection allowed an asbestos-laden boondoggle to become a city asset.
The developer, One Ash Venture, plans to repurpose the building into 247 affordable housing units, a mix of studios, 1, 2, and 3-bedroom units, also retail and childcare space.
Because this project has the 101 Ash label on it and that there will be cameras here, they are here to oppose because they're constantly rooting against the city and, quite frankly, don't ever want to see us move forward.
The lease with the
Sean Elo Rivera might be one of the most condescending politicians I'm aware of in California. There's a lot of condescending politicians in California, but for someone who is just a city council president, he's got a lot of gall to talk down to citizens the way he does. He talks like a tough guy. He talks like a tough guy, like he knows what he's doing or whatever. But for him to kind of chastise concerned citizens who were like, wait a second, what's this deal you're entering into for 101 Ash Street? Now, let me give you a little background about 101 Ash Street. It's where City Hall is in San Diego. So when you go to San Diego, I know a lot of people think it's that nice, big, beautiful building right there on the harbor. That's actually the county building. That's different than City Hall. City Hall is farther in downtown. So it's this big, sort of brutalist, ugly building that's been there since the 60s. It's been plagued with problems, which we're going to get into. And they can't figure out what to do with it and why they're spending so much money on it. So Sean Elo Rivera is saying, you're just all here because you hate change. That's the whole thing. You hate change. Well, I mean, if change isn't always necessarily good, you could be changing and approving a bad deal. So God forbid citizens show up and have any sort of concerns about this.
It would be $45.6 million paid over 60 years, with base rent starting at $15,000 per year. The developer says it will cost about $40 million to clean the building of asbestos. The funding for the roughly $267 million project is expected to come partially from city loans and historic tax credits. The development team now taking over the lease wants construction to start by this coming spring. Reporting live from the City Council chambers, I'm Alex Cheney, CBS 8.
So I want to break down a couple of the numbers here on 101 Ash Street. And again, this is a building that has been plagued with issue and corruption basically since the city has taken it over. It used to be, SDG&E, then it was Sempra, then now it's the city who bought it. It's not going to be directly funded with taxpayer money. That doesn't mean that taxpayers won't be on the hook somehow. So what they're doing is they're entering into this 60-year ground lease with MRK Partners and Create Dev, and we're going to get into those shady businesses in just a couple minutes. They will be getting funding, and they're going to get competitive federal and state tax credits. So remember, a tax credit means they're not collecting taxes on something, so where do they pick up the slack? In San Diego and the state are already in budget deficits, $280-300 million budget deficit here in San Diego alone. The city is providing a $46.5 million seller's note. So we are giving money to them in form of a seller's note, a loan based on a building's value with a 4% interest, which the developers will only have to start repaying around year 15. Is that what they're expecting? Is how long it's going to take for them to actually do anything with this building? Is it going to take 15 years to do that? That's a long runway to figure out how to change what's going on in 101 Ash Street. At this point, it's almost like you should just kind of tear it down. It's just such an enormous disaster. The city will be receiving 50% of rental proceeds minus expenses, earning an estimated $90 million over the lease term. Remember, that's $90 million over 60 years. That's the lease term. Another thing regarding political corruption, a city real estate advisor, Jason Hughes, who was found to have earned $9.4 million without disclosing his role in the renovation, pled guilty to a misdemeanor conflict of interest charge and had to repay the funds. Now, I want to go back to this MRK and create dev. As I said, if this is not the physical embodiment of political corruption and incompetence here in San Diego, this might be the absolute perfect example right here. So city council hands over Ash Street. This is from OB Rag. It's a small online news site. Ocean Beach, that's a small neighborhood, a beach community here in San Diego. It says city council hands over Ash Street Tower to development team of Kelly Moden, who happens to be the chair of the San Diego Planning Commission. So she's involved in politics and government when she happens to be the president of MRK and Create Dev LLC, who just got this enormous contract. So on July 19th, on the vote by the San Diego City Council, a unanimous one crystallized the city handing over, described it as asbestos-plagued office tower of 101 Ash Street for a 60-year lease to a development team headed by none other than Kelly Moden, the chair of the city. Not only is she on it, she's the chair of the city's planning commission. She heads MRK Partners and Create Dev LLC. Moden gushed, quote, "Today's council approval gives us the green light to transform a city-owned liability into a legacy. We are honored to have the trust and confidence of the San Diego City Council as we turn our attention to meeting September's state and federal affordable housing deadlines, which will keep our timeline and financing moving forward." The report goes on to say, Moden stands to collect a portion of the $32.7 million developer fee. The fee is calculated using a state formula for the Low-Income Housing Credit Tax Program, which allows the developer to take home 15% of the eligible basis. The development team will pocket nearly $3.8 million upfront and collect the rest when the project is refinanced. Quote, "The chairperson of the City Planning Commission is perpetuating a fraud on the people of San Diego. She has a prohibited financial interest." Mike Aguirre, who is a lawyer here, "I'm going to have to go back into court because this is fraud." And then the San Diego's Ethics Commission, shockingly, said there's no conflict of interest because the project did not go before the Planning Commission. I mean, I don't know how you don't look at that and go, someone who's on the planning commission, who's involved in government, also is the president of these construction companies that just happen to get this huge contract for a big building. She's going to pocket millions of dollars. No one thinks that's fishy at all. No one thinks that's crazy. And then you have people like Sean Elo Rivera have the gall to talk down to citizens who are concerned about this deal. For him to act like he's this big tough guy and chastise citizens for exercising their right to free speech, for him, they just hate change. That's why they're here. That's what they talk down about. That we're not allowed to be concerned about why we're handing out these nice little contracts to people who are involved in San Diego government. You at 101 Ash Street, San Diego politics. This is the problem when it's a 100% Democrat city council and there's no one to check each other. Todd Gloria obviously has no gall to stand up to this or call this out. Sean Elo Rivera has the gall to talk down to citizens who are concerned about this. But this is just sort of a small microcosm at the San Diego level of political corruption and incompetence. First, they were incompetent in buying the building and managing it and maintaining the building. They couldn't figure out how to do what they had to do with this building. And now they're handing it over to a development company and a construction company that has connections to the San Diego city government. And everyone shrugs their shoulders and goes, this is fine. This is not corruption at all in San Diego city government. So let me know in the comments what you think. Do you think this is absolute corruption on the part of the San Diego City Council and the city government, that they're just handing this huge project over and someone who's involved in government set to make millions and millions of dollars? I don't know. I think it's kind of a conflict of interest that you're even on the planning commission when you own two development companies, but what do I know?